We welcome in Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Dodge. He's in New York today, the
Miller Lite
2012
Ford.
Sprint Cup
Miller
champion.
Lite Ford.
Brad Keselowski joins us. Hello, Brad. Miller Lite Ford. Hey, and this is one of those times where I will pass the buck on the responsibility, but Miller Lite Ford. Brad, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
When you walk, I'm good, thank you. When you walk down the streets in New York, how often are you tapped on the shoulder or recognized?
I try not to walk down the streets of New York because it's really cold, and I'm trying to stay warm. But I did walk down it the other day, and thankfully not at all, which I think is great. I always say that I have the perfect amount of fame, just enough to make a great living and be happy, but not enough to be bothered down the streets.
If you were walking down the street in Charlotte, would the same thing happen to you? Or would you be able to be anonymous? No.
No, not at all. In fact, I was in Charlotte last year about this time of year, and which is a lot warmer. So I walked the streets, and someone stopped me that was actually homeless, and they knew who I was, and so I had to do something for them, and I gave them a little bit of money. But that's my story of the day for walking down the road in Charlotte.
You are a good man. And by the way, it is your birthday. How does Brad Keselowski celebrate his birthday in New York City?
Well, we're talking to the Dan Patrick Show, obviously.
That's it? That's the highlight of your day, and Dan's not even here.
I know. It's not the birthday I thought it was going to be. But I'm going to have some fun tonight and toss a few back, and we're going to relax. But got to work, man. You know how it is.
Yeah, we know how that goes. Are you 30 now? You're 30 years old?
I am. Well, no, actually, it's the anniversary of my 29th birthday.
Okay,
but,
I get you. You know, you can turn 30 as a man. It's not really an issue, and it's not old on NASCAR circuit, is it? I mean, what is your prime when you're a driver?
That's a great question because it's something that's talked about a lot in the sport. Most drivers hit their prime around 32, 33 years old. So I guess I do have that going for me, but that doesn't mean I like being older.
You know, there is. We watched the Olympic Games, and I think there was a 15-year-old snowboarder last night from Japan who was on the medal stand when it's all said and done. Could a young driver make his way or her way onto the circuit? And what would that age limit be? A teenager driving at your level, or is there just too much to learn?
Well, NASCAR does have an age limit, and it's 18 years old. So, last year we saw there was a record set for a driver winning at the youngest age. You're allowed to run at the smaller tracks, I think all the way down to 17. So a driver won that was 17 years old. So that's pretty remarkable.
He's Brad Keselowski celebrating a birthday by visiting with us on the Dan Patrick Show. How do you like the new chase format? They've expanded it to 16 drivers. Are you a fan?
I am. I think it's a great opportunity for the sport to really put an emphasis on winning because it's essentially a win and you're in, and a win and you advance throughout the chase to the final round at Homestead. So I think it's a good mark for the sport. It's a chance for it really to connect for future generations because it's very simple: win races and you'll win the championship. Where before it wasn't that way.
You won the chase in 2012. You didn't qualify for it last year. Why?
We just didn't run well enough. We made too many mistakes, and just one of those things where in the cycle of sports, we made too many mistakes and cycled backwards a little bit and just barely missed it. So, we got to be better, and we're working on that. But I think we're a great team, and I think we can make another run for a championship.
When you talk about getting better, personally, what does that mean to you? Behind the wheel, how do you get better?
Well, that's a great question. The cars change every year, and I think you have to be adaptive to those changes. And what that means is the driving style each year, when NASCAR makes a rules change, it just drastically affects the techniques you have to use, your different inputs on the steering wheel and on the gas and brake pedals. So for me, adapting that is, a yearly challenge, and it's something that I have to be better at.
Talking with Brad Keselowski, the driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford 2012 Sprint Cup champion. You surprised some military heroes in Phoenix a week ago. How emotional was that? Talk us through what you did.
Well, anytime you do something with veterans, it's really emotional for me in particular. We talked a little bit about my birthday, but, a lot of the guys from my generation are the ones that went over and fought in Afghanistan, Iraq over the last half a dozen years or so. And so to see some of those guys come back and be injured or torn up in different ways and be in different veteran hospitals of sorts that's tough. That's my generation. So, watching that and being able to help out in some way is very rewarding to me. And I try to do so. I got my own foundation, Checkered Flag Foundation, to try to assist those guys and help them get back on their feet and tell them thank you along the way. So it's something that means a lot to me.
He's Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford. Are there limitations? Are you limited to what you can do away from the sport? I mean, could you go snowboarding? Can you race on a dirt track on a weekend off? Do you have limitations to what you can do away from your schedule?
Well, I mean, I probably could, but I don't, because it's difficult to do those things. And you know that if you get hurt, you're going to let down, your entire team. I'm the face of a team and of a company, Penske Racing, and Team Penske, that has over 300 employees. And if I get hurt, I'm jeopardizing each and every one of those guys' livelihood. So, for me, I try to always keep that in mind. And it's not a matter of if you can, it's a matter of if you should. And for those guys, I make it a point not to, because I don't want to risk their careers as much as I do my own.
There was a comment that Richard Petty made at an event a couple of days ago talking about Danica Patrick and that she couldn't win unless everybody else stayed home. Those are pretty biting comments. What was your reaction?
Yeah. God bless Richard. He said what he was thinking, and I can't disagree with a guy who says what he thinks. There's something to be said for that. But I can disagree slightly with his comments. I do think that she has a chance at winning. Is she a top-level driver? Absolutely not. But she does have a chance at winning, so I think that's probably unfair.
Can she be a top-level driver? I mean, do you see that as a possibility, or is she what she is?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know how you answer that. I think if anyone knew how to answer it, would all be geniuses, especially.
Yeah.
I think you look over at NFL, when they draft players, it should be pretty easy if you could tell. You'd be able to answer it over there, and to the point where every draft pick would be a success. But that's not the way it works. No one knows who's going to be successful. I think if you looked at the start of my career, there's probably people that said I would never get there. And then I ended up winning a Sprint Cup championship and a nationwide championship. So it's unfair to say no, but I can't say that it's a yes either. I think time will tell.
Brad Keselowski, driver of the Miller Lite Ford. We have an over-under bet in studio. The Danettes and I have an over-under bet of 100 cases of Miller Lite in your home.
For what?
Over-under 100 cases of Miller Lite beer at your house.
Oh, if I have 100 in my home.
Yeah,
no,
do you have?
Under that. I don't need to carry that many cases in my house. I can just get them whenever I want. They're on demand.
So you just make a phone call and they're delivered? How does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably want to keep about 5 to 10 cases in my house at a time, because it would be wasteful unless I'm having a party, and then I'll bring in a pallet.
All right. What's your expectation at Daytona next week?
Win. That's what I'm there to do, is win the race. I want to win the Daytona 500, and that's what we're committed to do. We came really, really close last year in a battle with Jimmy Johnson at the end, and lost out. But hopefully we can make up for it this year.
Brad, go get it. Good luck in Daytona. Happy birthday. I hope you do have something better than this to celebrate your day.
No, I'm having a great time, and I appreciate you having us on, and we're ready to go to Daytona. Hopefully we'll see you guys there.
Brad, sounds great. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford.